Hey everyone, this is Daniel, and in today's video I'm going to talk about how you can export CSV from a Power Apps. So even though this sounds like a simple thing, it's like, hey, all you're doing is exporting a CSV, believe it or not, this functionality is actually not available. But if you need it, here's how you do it. So what I'm going to do is actually have a Power App, and we'll go ahead and build a really quick one. But then from there, we'll create a gallery, and then from the gallery, we're going to go ahead and export. But what we'll do is we'll use Power Automate, which is build a flow, and over there we'll use the OneDrive data connector to actually do the conversion. So that's basically the whole premise of this video over here and this recording. So enough with the talking, let's go jump into the video. Okay, so I'm going to end with this presentation and we're going to jump straight into creating an app. I'll create a blank canvas one, call it export CSV. It says I already have it, CSV2 to demo. Create that. Creating it. The whole idea for this one is I'll just create a simple app, add a gallery to it, get some data to that gallery, and then we'll go ahead and export that. The exporting to CSV is the whole main premise of this one, but I gotta have something to show you how to do that. So that's what we're gonna do. All right, make sure I got that over there. Give it a different colors. Make sure it's all saved. And then once it's done saving, we'll go back and start building the app. So first thing I like to do is I go and build a header and a footer, so it kind of gives it a little bit of a depth. Fill that. Should make it a little darker. Make this one light. Call it export CSV. Center. Give this like 28. Nice. Copy that, paste it down. My favorite footer is powered by Power Apps. Also, let's change the theme of this a little bit. Yeah, nice and dark. Okay, so now that we've got that, let's go and get some data in. I have a connector already for SQL with some data in here, so that's what I'm going to do. Two tables I'm going to get. I have the state for all the states in our country, and then all the cities and counties over there. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to get the state capital and then the state cities. These are the two that I'm going to grab. Okay. Now let's go and create the gallery. So I'll grab this one here, and I'm going to change it to these three, because all I'm going to see is text. Here I can remove that icon, and I'm going to change things around a little bit, and this will actually be state, city, county. So let's do the city. We'll keep the city aside over there a little bit. We do need the state, so we'll keep that over here. Actually, that's the county. So move that around. I'll make a copy of that. And this is going to be the state long. I'll also go grab the state short. That way we can just have a little bigger looking table, just so that it looks like there's some data over here. That, and then we had city. City is good. And we'll go grab the county. So I think, and we don't need that. So we've got some amount of data now to work with. What you can do is, if you want to make it a little bit more nicer, you can add some more labels over here. Give it that same color. The fill will be the exact same here, and this is to tell you that this is the state. Basically, you're just putting headers over here. This is something that I do. Is I actually use galleries instead of the data tables, because then I can make the data table look exactly like a gallery. Or the data table, yeah, the gallery look exactly like a data table, but it's just so much more easier to work with galleries over here. So again, this is just a little tidbit that I'm showing. this over here is the county. Okay, so we got some data, right? Now let's add a little bit, take it to the next level, is also provide the options to filter it. That way, you know, we're not exporting too much data. So for that, I'm gonna do quickly drop down this one here. I'll go grab the state and DBO, and that's just gonna be state. Yep, and we can, you know, sort, do a sort by columns, and it's going to be state here. Make sure, yeah, the state. Okay, I got that, and now I'm going to drop another one, another drop down, and that's how we will get our counties as well. So let's start with DBO, state, cities, and then just to make sure over here I get county. Okay, and then now what I'm going to do for the county is I want to make sure that the counties are filtered based on the state that I've selected. So for that, I'm going to call our favorite filter function, which is filter. Here on the filter, there is a column called state long, and that state long, I'm going to use the state long filtered based on the selection I've done over here. So normally I would go ahead and tag these labels to something that makes sense. So I would actually call this as state, you know, DD, for drop down, whatever that works for you. But make sure you get it correctly because it really helps. So I'm going to do that. Got selected, and this is the state. So that filtering should work because now based on whatever I selected over here, these will change. Let's just make sure that I'm actually getting county. All right. Now what I want to do though is I also want to do a sort by columns, because I want to sort based on the actual county. So now it'll be nicely sorted, but I also want to get distinct because right now I should be getting a lot of duplicates as well. Just way too many. See that? There's too many duplicates coming in, so I just want to get a distinct value of each. So that's why I do distinct, again distinct based on the county. And now when I look at it, these are all the nice counties in the state of Alaska, right? So that was the easy part. We went ahead and got at least the basic app ready. I'm going to save it. And now let's work on the fun part. So this is how I recommend you go ahead and build the export piece to CSV. First of all, you don't want to get all the data over here. What you want to do is, based on this filtering, you want to take all of this and you want to go ahead and dump that into a collection. So what I'll show you is get a button over here. I'll just call that button for submit, because we are submitting the data into a collection, and it really makes it easier because of two things. One of them is you limit that collection only with the data that you want. That's one. Second thing is this over here will always be blank, and the data only shows up after you filtered it. And that always the end users like that, because they will, you know, be able to understand that, hey, the data that I'm seeing over here is only based on the filtered data, and that doesn't have any confusions. So it always kind of makes sense when you do that. In fact, many of the apps that I build, this is how I do it. So let me kind of walk you through. On submit or on select, I'm going to do a clear collect, and I'm going to call this as a temporary COL for collection. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get the filtered data. So I'll do the filtering, filter, and in this case I will filter it based on the gallery. Whatever is the gallery that I get, the gallery dot, I can do all items, and then I'm going to the city, that's what it is, yeah, the state actually, the state long equals this filter, yeah, I can just do that. In fact, let me just change that. spent a little bit of time showing you guys how to do this. It really wasn't that necessary. What I can do is this submit button over here, in fact this guy here, its items, yeah, we'll change that. We'll take that to the clear collect. All right, ignore what I just said. Let's start right over here again. Clear collect, and I'm going to do the temporary collection, do the filter, and now I'm going to get that one here, comma, the state long equals the selected item that I do over here, drop down, selected dot state, and I also want to filter it based on the county. The county value comes from this one over here, this drop down. There, cool. And now finally I just take this one over here and I change it by the temporary collection. So watch what happens. And I do that, do Alaska as it is, this one, if I hit submit, the data is coming in, goes and takes the filtered data from the data source, dumps it in the collection, and I'll see that any second over here showing up. Works like a charm. Same thing, pick California, go ahead and pick any of the cities, hit submit, filters the data, shows it up over here. So whatever you're seeing over here is always the temporary data sitting in a collection. But again, that's not the whole premise of this one. Let's continue over there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop another button, because that's where we're going to go and get some more data. So the first thing over here, I'm going to call this as the export button. And the export button, I'm going to now take up this data and I'm going to start creating another collections and start going to work with variables over here. So the first thing I want to do over here is I'm going to actually call set a variable. Now the thing about that variable is very interesting, because that variable actually temporarily stores all the data in a very specific format, and that specific format is actually what is literally the comma separated value format. But I'm temporarily storing all that data, the ones we see in the gallery, in that variable over here, the global variable. And then once I've saved all the data over there, again in that specific format, I'm going to send that variable and all the data over to Flow, and then Flow with OneDrive's data connection does the magic of exporting that as a CSV file. But the way the data has to be presented in that format that I'm going to show you, that's key. That has to be done on the Power Apps over here, because if you send any other format, it's not going to work. It has to be sent in this format over here. So watch carefully how I do that piece. So first thing is, like I said, I'm going to I'm going to use a global variable using the set function. So let me go ahead and create that variable. So call it a variable here, and I'm just going to create the variable. All right. So that part is done over here. Again, remember, Shift Enter takes you to the next line, and then for all gallery 1 items, I do that. I'm going to do a collect, and I'm going to create a temporary collection. I'm going to call that as the export. What do I call that? CSV collection. Let's just call that. All right. And then over here, I'm going to start giving some names, which is going to be in this new temporary collection. So what's the collection going to be? I'm going to call it as state long, and that state long is going to come from this gallery over here. So let's actually make things a little easier for us. I'm going to call that as state gal. Actually, let's call that as a state. Yeah, state long. Okay, I'll call that as, it's going to be our state long gal. I'm going to call this one as state short gal. This was city. The reason I put in the gal later on is so that it makes it easier for you to understand which columns are actually in the gallery as against which one isn't. Got it. State long, and that is going to be the state long gal dot text. Next one is going to be state short, and that's going to be the state short gal dot text, comma, what else did I take? I took city, and I'll do the city gal also text, and then finally it was the county, and I'm going to call it as the county gal dot text. All right, so close brackets, 2 double brackets, and that's that. Temporary created for all the items in the gallery that you're seeing over there, all the items in the gallery. I'm going to collect all that and I'm going to put it temporarily in a collection over there. All right, so that just, the reason I'm doing that is so that I can have that collection, and I'm going to take that collection and put all the data from the collection into the set variable. So here's now the important piece of the formula, is the set variable. So I'm going to call that as set. I'm going to call this as success, and I'll explain what is over here. Actually, no, set export CSV variable, the one which we just created on the top. That's the one that I'm going to use. And now watch this. It's not concatenate, it's concat. That's the one we are using. Concat. And I'm going to get the data from this export CSV collection, and got to make sure that I have all the data from there. So export CSV collection, the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to take the state long, and now these things you're seeing over here, they are coming based on all these column names that we put in the collection. That's where this is coming from. So the state long, I do that, and then in the comma separated value, what do you need? You need commas. So that's what I'm putting in. Double quotes, comma, double quotes. I'm going to be doing a lot of that. And remember, there's the ampersand before. So this combination over there, ampersand, double quotes, comma, ampersand, this is going to be a key thing that you'll be doing a lot to get that comma separated value. This is how that CSV comes in. So let's continue, because I got state, I got short, again, ampersand, double quotes, comma, double quotes, ampersand. See, kind of getting the hang of it. This is basically how it works. All right, so we got state long, state short. Next thing was city. Got the city. Again, ampersand, double quotes, comma, double quotes. Did I put double quotes? No, double quotes. And then another ampersand. And then finally there was the count, county. And anytime you see a squiggle line like that, which means you've done something wrong. In my case, I put in the comma, and so that's what happened. See, otherwise the IntelliSense would have shown up. Now we've got the one line. Now I need it to come to the next line, and the way I do the next line, which is as simple as enter. The enter, I can't hit an enter over there, so I got to tell what that enter is, and to do that, it's chr or char, chr 10. That is how it'll come to the next line, and then I got 2 double brackets. Okay, it is county and char. That's how I was missing one over there. Okay, so now that we've gone ahead and created the variable, all the data is going to be in the variable. So we're going to pause over here on the Power Apps side, and we're going to switch gears going over to the flow piece. So let me go and save that. Saving it. Because the next thing we'll jump over to is flow. Come on. Go ahead and publish it. All right, so I'm going to get to flow. My app was built in workflow on the workshop tenant, so I'm going to jump in and make sure my flow is on that one as well. So I'm going to instant from blank. This one is going to be export CSV demo, and this is going to come from Power Apps. Go ahead and create that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is from OneDrive business. OneDrive from business. OneDrive for business. I am going to create a file, and I just like to rename that to In between, I'm creating a CSV file. CSV file, right? Unique path, I'll keep it at the root. File name, I'm going to ask in the Power Apps what that file name is. I'm going to ask in Power Apps. Over here, I'm also going to get the content from Power Apps. I'm going to ask in Power Apps. But here, once the file name comes, I want that file name to be a .csv. So I will do that, .csv. And then I'm going to respond back in Power Apps. Power Apps, respond back to Power Apps. And I'm going to say something over here. In Power Apps, I'm going to say completed. And I'm going to give the value true. And it'll make sense because what I'm doing is when I get the response back with completed equals true, that means the flow ran successfully. That is one big reason why I'm doing that, because the file is already created. It's going to create in OneDrive and it'll sit over there and then we'll call that file. But how do I know if it was successful or not? How did I know that the flow actually ran successfully? And the way I know it is because of this completed equals true. So let me go ahead and click on save over here. Saving, and we should have this ready. Now I can stay over here, or I can get out of it. But we're going to call this one over. Now, any of you guys who've used this before, just realize that Daniel, you kind of actually made a mistake because you're going to call the flow in this onSelect button, and that formula is going to disappear. Nope, didn't make a mistake over there. I intentionally showed this for two reasons, because I got to show you how I wrote the formula. But secondly is now you'll see what the problem happens. So one of the good things to do is just copy this all and open up your Notepad or OneNote. I use Notepad++. You can use OneNote. Either one, but you gotta have some way to save this data because I need to save it. So I'm gonna now click over here and I'm gonna go to actions. I'm gonna go on flow, and on the flow I am going to call that flow we just wrote, export CSV demo. Okay, so it's adding, and if everything is done well in the flow, it should just go ahead and connect straight to that button over there, and there should not be any errors. Another interesting thing over here to see on the flow side, if the connection is good on the flow from the Power Apps to the flow, and you've written the flow correctly, these calls should name the exact same ones you put in the flow side. Remember those two variables that we added on the flow side, or the on the flow side? These are the exact names we came in over here. So this is kind of just one way for you to quickly check to see, yep, it's all working so far, everything is good. Okay, but I'm gonna go back, hit the home button over here, because I'm gonna go ahead and quickly paste my data. So I'm gonna go outside, shift enter, and I'll go and get my data back. I mean my remaining part of my formula. Okay, now here I'm gonna send two things. I need to send this file name. So I'm gonna go ahead and already just come up with the file name, CSV File. All right, you can just do that over here. You can come up with any other ways to go and get a file name. You could go and put in another text control over there, said giving the end users the option to put the file name. That's all the easy parts. I'm not focusing on that. I'm just focusing on I need a file name, and that's how I'm going to get it over here. Now the file content. The file content is the actual data which I'm going to send to the flow. Now you remember that data is all being stored over here now in this CSV piece over here. So that's how it is coming in. So let me go now and get the data. And the data was the export CSV collection. No, it was the export CSV variable. CSV variable, that's the data that I'm sending over here. Now remember, in the flow piece, we've written it such that it is sending a value back as well, that completed is true. So I got to make sure now I create another variable. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say it's called that as a success variable. And you spell success this way. Success variable dot and completed. Now, it's important that I do this because what I'm going to do is once I'm going to run this, I will have that PDF file sitting over there. But the reason I'm putting that completed is because I'm going to create an if condition. If condition will tell me is that, hey, if this ran successfully, only then should you go ahead and download the file. This completed really helps me from the Power App side know that the flow ran successfully, it did its job, and now we can go ahead and download that, the next expression that I write. This is very critical because initially I did not do this, and sometimes for whatever reason if flow failed, this would still attempt to download it, and it would download the previous data which you had, and that can actually cause a confusion to the end users. It can, this app would not be successful. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of doing a foolproof process that the data that you're getting is the most updated data, and this is how you do that. All right, so I'm going to first, let me just go ahead and run this because I got to run it at least once to have my PDF file. There'll be actually a PDF file which will sit over here, PDF file, a CSV file that'll sit over here, which Flow will create. So let's run this once. We'll do that. We've got the data, so I'm going to go ahead and export. See the ants running over there. Should everything run? The button is completed. Let's go take a look at our flow. Reset or refresh. Flow ran successfully. Now if I come to OneDrive, yep, there's my file. In fact, you can click on it. You'll see the data's coming through in a nice CSV format. All right, see, the data came through nicely. So next thing is, another critical thing is we got to get that link. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to hit copy link. And just to be a little extra careful, I'm going to change this to only view. I'm not going to do the allow editing, okay? Just, me being extra careful. Now I go ahead and copy this. All right, now that I've copied it, I come back to my Power App, and on the export piece over here, I add the final finishing touch to the formula. I'm going to say if success variable equals true, go ahead and launch using the launch function, double quotes. Here is the URL I just got from the OneDrive. And then I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to add a question mark. Actually, it's not question mark, an ampersand. Download equals 1. Once again, you need to know what this is. It was this initial URL was the one we got from OneDrive, but you need to add this ampersand or this and download equals 1. That's what makes it download. Save that. All right. Let me go ahead and, oh, it didn't like something. Let's see what it didn't like. Oh, another brackets. To do that, now let's go ahead and do another place. Submits it. The data comes through nicely. Go ahead and export that. It's exporting it. Open up temporarily another bracket. Downloaded the file and it temporarily opened up another tab, downloaded the file, and the tab closed. Now here is the data. Excel's opening up on the side, and it went ahead and grabbed us our data over here. See, it was just as simple as that. The CSV file came through over here. So one of the things that I want us to do is here. We did the clear collect over here, we did the submit, we did the export, all the data is coming through. One thing is, let's come back over here. If we refresh it, it goes ahead and gets the data. If I go ahead and run it again, it'll just be refreshed again. Now, key things I want you guys to know of is do not delete the CSV file. You delete that CSV file and you've just lost that link. This CSV file has to always temporarily be there. So you can come up with some plans, right? You can come up with creating another folder over here, and then you can save that file over there. But whatever it is, do not delete that, because if you remember, we came over here and we hadn't got that link. That is the link we are referencing to get that CSV file. So that's one thing over here. Second thing is, when you're going ahead and writing to that entire gallery, the CSV, sorry, the variable over here, you can go ahead and make that variable such that initially on select it becomes blank. So that's basically what I'm doing. It becomes blank, and then after that I'm going to go ahead and then dump in the remaining data over there. The becoming blank is what's handy, because that will go ahead and take the it basically is the same thing as a clear collect, because what happens is if I go ahead and pull other data in, it's going to go ahead and not keep appending it. I want fresh data coming in and fresh data being CSV. So kind of don't forget that you're doing this over here as well. And then basically that is it. So let's just do another test. Let's go and get anything Connecticut. Get something else. Submit. Submit gives me clear data over here. I can do export. Now see the CSV file too is because it's keeping track of all the files that you have. So that's why you've already downloaded 2 before. That's why you have this over here. And then when I come back in, see, it just refreshed to fresh new seconds, which means that's a fresh copy. And then if I hit over here, I should see at least 3. And there you go. This is basically how you do it. As a quick recap, you had to build the app wherever you're building it to get the gallery. My recommendation was, once you get the gallery, save it in a temporary collection, take the data from that collection, and put it in this one set variable in that very specific format, which is the CSV format, which was the ampersand, open brackets, open double quotes, comma, double quotes, ampersand. That's how you're building the CSV format, all saved in that one variable. And then you're taking that variable, sending it to via flow. In flow, we're using OneDrive. Don't forget to put the .csv over here, and that gets saved into the OneDrive folder location. And then we are sending a response back to Power App saying that, hey, this was true and it was completed. Now, the final thing is on the OneDrive, do not delete that temporary file, because you're going to be referencing that file over there. That's why I did 2 things. I changed it from edit to only view. But the one thing you can do is actually save it in another folder and say in that folder, call that folder name. Do not delete, so nobody actually deletes it, because you're going to be constantly referencing that. But that's basically it. Hopefully this was helpful to you. As always, go. I'll put the link to the blog. It's actually on the community, Power community over there, so you can get some of these formulas over there. Definitely subscribe so that you can see all my other videos over there, and keep power apping.